today's topic, where we're going to address, as I have said on today's topic, as we're going to address this malady, diabetes, and how this diabetes can channel other diseases and the effect first it brings onto our bodies. And very fast, James, kindly give me the next document. So it has been told throughout the years that when we have sugar in our body, it's like the condition of hyperglycemia is a risk. It's already a risk. High blood sugar in us, it's already a risk. And what happens when sugar stays in the cell? Yes, it acts like poison. But how is this poison? How does this high sugar level hyperglycemia be poison to us? That's what we're going to validate in this meeting and understand how. Because remember, we were discussing two types of diabetes, which are the major ones, because we have some other. But the type 1 diabetes, we said that this is where the pancreas has already been damaged. So if you have type 1 diabetes and the doctor or your practitioner or your physician is telling you that you should inject insulin, we said that is already a red flag, because the moment you have type 2 diabetes, injecting insulin is very useless. Type 2 diabetes, the insulin is already normal. But in type 1 diabetes is where now the pancreas has already been attacked. It's an autoimmune attack to the pancreatic cell. So here the pancreas is already damaged, and that's why the insulin shots, it's something like a superficial hack to ensure that the moment before the kidney regenerates back, you shall be having something to allow sugar to enter your cells. So the doctor gives you an artificial insulin, maybe you inject yourself by it, so that it will substitute the time before your pancreas to recover. But in many cases, we find ourselves that the moment we have suffered from this condition of diabetes, we are already surpassed the age of apoptosis for its rate to be as rapid as it was when we were young. So we find ourselves before our kidney to regenerate, before our pancreas to regenerate back to the way it was, rather, it takes time. And the medication that I'm offered, the superficial acts that I'm told to induce myself with, those medication may still form some coagulation in me and bring some other forms of unwanted diseases. And that's why you are saying that the only thing that can ensure that your body is being reinstated back is if we stimulate the regenerative process back to how it was taking place when you were young, the way it was taking place when you hadn't surpassed this age of 25 years. And now age is something inevitable. We must grow upward. Our age must come from 24 to 25, and we must surpass this age where the rate of metabolism has to slow down, the rate of regeneration has to slow down, our cell starts to telomere. So the only thing we can ensure that our pancreas will regenerate back and we won't be on this superficial hacks medication for our long time period or throughout our lifetime is to ensure that I am stimulating the cell's regeneration artificially. And how do we do this here in Prive International? We substitute by using a frequency that will excite our cells to vibrate at the required normal optimum frequency, where regeneration will take place, repair will take place, and your organ will be back to normal. So today's topic will be very short, because we understand that the two types of diabetes, one, my pancreas is damaged, and this other one is the insulin, that thing which my normal pancreas is producing to allow glucose to enter my cell, is unwanted by my cells. It's useless. It becomes, the cells resist it. So I have a key to open to unlock glucose to enter, but the key is faulty. That's the idea of type 2 diabetes and type 1 diabetes. If it's not clear up to now to anyone, maybe you can address your personal interest on the chat. I will maybe come back to you later. Give me the next slide, James. So one damage that can occur by having high excess sugar in us is the damage to the blood vessels and the circulatory system. And here I'm going to explain it very clearly because there is some concept which I will need to apply in some other effect to different organs. But the first take I will have will be on the blood vessels and the circulatory system, where we find that excess sugar binds to proteins in blood vessels walls through a process called glycation, making them stiff and brittle. Any scientific word that I will mention, you do not have to worry about it. I will explain it in a way that it will be very, very clear. It's only that I want to state it so that you may understand what it is before I elaborate it. And so excess sugar binds to proteins in blood vessels walls through a process called glycation. Now, here we are saying that the excess sugar in our blood system, it attached to the proteins, okay? Now, in this process is called glycation, which I will explain below. Sugar also causes chronic inflammation, leading to plaque buildup inside arteries. This leads to atherosclerosis, hardening, which is hardening and narrowing of arteries, increasing the risk of heart attacks, strokes, high blood pressure, which is from narrowed arteries. Now, this glycation, I want to tell you something that maybe will be new and you will be very glad to learn about it, about proteins. We were saying at the cellular level, still, proteins must be able to fold and unfold to the required distinct organelles. Like, for example, you know, insulin, it's a protein because these proteins that are in our body are what form the insulin as a byproduct of attachment of these amino acids or these chains of acids. They combine because proteins are actually acids, but now the building block of proteins, which are this acid, they distinct themselves to form something which is called insulin. Still, they can distinct themselves to form something like collagen. And for example, collagen is better for my skin, which is it's the oil that the skin requires naturally. Something else like elastin. Elastin, it's the protein that will ensure that my blood vessels are very elastic to ensure that blood passes through it very swiftly without any resistance. So the function of protein is to reconstruct some very useful or something which the body will use, like an enzyme. Like even proteins, they manufacture the enzymes that are used to catalyze the reactions in a living organism. So I won't take part in addressing all the things that proteins develops to, but one thing that is important that I've said, proteins, they form the collagen. So the protein will fold to form a very important organ or a very useful enzyme, the collagen, and this collagen will be useful to my skin. But now it's like this protein will be hijacked by sugar. So for example, this protein, the moment it's trying to form or to distinct to a collagen protein, which will be very useful to my skin organ, this protein that is trying to form the collagen will be attacked by sugar crystals because they are in excess. They clamp together and disfigure it. And as you can see there in that diagram, which is on your right side, directing to the screen, on your right side, you can see there's sugar, but this sugar will attack some collagen or elastin, which elastin is what we have said that it will distinct to ensure that the blood vessels are so elastic, because the blood vessels need to be elastic for blood to pass through swiftly. So in this case, let's address just collagen. So the excess blood sugar, the excess glycogen will attack the collagen, and this collagen, as it is clamped by this excess blood sugar, instead of it attaching to the walls of an organ or a blood vessels, and in this case organelle which we are addressing, which is collagen, so it will attach to the skin. Instead of it being so pure, it is clamped with those excess sugar crystals, and the damage is what you see there. A skin whose collagen has been attacked by excess blood sugar. Rather than it being so smooth, you can see them as wrinkles. You can see the collagen is deficient in that skin because the excess blood sugar has already interfered with the protein that was to make the collagen very pure. In another case, in the type 2 diabetes, remember we said in type 2 diabetes, there is no harm to the pancreas. What is bringing about this type 2 diabetes? The insulin being released by the pancreas is not accepted by the cells. So the pancreas has already released the key to be used by cells to allow glucose to enter, but the cells are refusing the key. Why? Because the moment the pancreas has released the insulin, the excess sugar being in your body, I'm addressing type 2 diabetes, guys, the excess sugar hijacks the insulin. Remember, I've told you insulin is a subject of protein. This protein has fold or unfold to form the insulin. The insulin, before it reaches the cell, it has been hijacked by these excess sugar crystals. So the moment it reaches the cell and tries to open the door of a cell, it's like the key is already faulty. So you remain subjected to that condition of high blood of hyperglycemia because the insulin has been hijacked by the excess sugar crystals in your body, so that it has already damaged its original form. So as I try to open the door, as I try to open using this insulin that has already been hijacked by sugar crystals, the cell cannot allow that. So you remain in that state of type 2 diabetes. Hope I have explained what glycation is and how and its effect, how it's very damaging to our body. Give me the, I think the screen has been displaced on my side. Kindly. I don't know what has happened. Let me see if I can remember what will be the genes. Guys, I'm very sorry, but we'll be on in the very next second. So maybe I will try to explain again what I've said in the section about glycation. We have said glycation is the process where these sugar crystals attract proteins. They attach themselves to proteins, inhibiting the proteins to distinct themselves to various useful enzymes, to various useful things that our body try to manufacture. Insulin is one of them. Something else is the collagen. Something else which is manufactured by the proteins is the elastin. So the moment these sugar attach themselves to these crystals of these proteins, they inhibit their function which they were to perform. In that case, we have seen the collagen has been attacked by the sugar crystals. The resultant effect of the skin is already wrinkled. In the case of type 2 diabetes, if the proteins have been clamped to by those excess sugar crystals, instead of them forming an insulin which will be able to open a cell, they form an insulin which will be resisted by the cell. And that's why you remain in that state of type 2 diabetes. Your pancreas is very okay, but it's the cells which are not allowing the key because the key has already been attacked by the sugar crystals. I think we have taken a lot of time in the technicalities issues. I'll try, let me be trying to see if I can display on my own side before James enters the Zoom. We have a very small topic today, and I believe that in just 10 minutes, I should be able to allow the question and answer part and the testimonials part. So just give me a minute. I try to display on my side.
Yeah. Where are you? Maliza. Ashaenda. Maliza the discussion.
It's only that we have an issue in the technicalities part. Yeah, I think James is back and we shall proceed. Thank you very much, James. Give me that slide, James, so that we may proceed efficiently. Take me to the third slide. James, kindly take me to the next slide. I don't know. Oh, the issue. Is there any issue, James?
This on the next.
Okay, we're very sorry. Now, the next part, we have already addressed the blood vessels part and the circulatory system. Kindly give me the previous slide so that we may exhaust it completely, because there are some.
This one.
The previous one.
Asking, is this one okay?
Yeah. I can see the display, but I want the previous slide.
So sorry, I have some network issues.
Okay. So guys, I had explained about glycation, where the excess sugar attacks the proteins and inhibits the proteins to form the required thing by the body. Remember, the proteins may fold to form the collagen, it may fold to form the insulin, which is required to open cells to allow glucose to enter. So the function of proteins, if it's inhibited by the blood sugar, a lot can occur there later in the future. Atherosclerosis, this is where now the proteins have already attacked the excess sugar clumping with the proteins. They form now this.
Rooney, can you come closer to your mic?
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Am I clear now?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. So I was explaining about atherosclerosis, and I've told you now this is where the toxins build up. Remember, this excess sugar and these proteins, whenever they clump up, they form something sticky, which is now attached to the walls of the blood vessels. And if there is anything that is toxin now, it is attracted to it. And this is the root cause of the inflammation, and the inflammation continues to grow rapidly, develops gradually, and you can see the progression. It started with a very small toxin build up. Now it develops to even rupture the blood vessel, and the moment the blood vessel is ruptured, it's like it leaves a hole. So anything or any unwanted material, whenever is passing through that area of that blood vessel, it's like it has something to hack it down. It has something to trip it down. So the excess toxins, they build up like it's something continually. The medications that have always displayed on this Zoom as we are discussing the diabetes, we have seen the medication that are provided for diabetic patients in the case of toxin buildup, is a medication used to dissolve these types of toxins that accumulate in the blood vessels. But if rupture has already been done, now it is up to the body to self-heal to ensure that the atherosclerosis won't happen, because it has already left a hole in the blood vessel. Now, it will allow plenty of times toxin materials to build up in that particular area if that area is not surfaced again or brought back to its normalcy. And you can see the resultant effect now, the blood clot, if it's not addressed. And that's why it's very clear. This atherosclerosis, this toxin buildup, which has started even from simple materials in our body, sugar and proteins. Remember, I was telling you that some diseases attack us very innocently. We didn't call for them. Something like metabolism being a risk of oxidative stress. That's something which is very natural to each and every human being. And that's why we advise that it's very good to ground yourself, something which I can relate to this. So the moment these protein and sugars can cause the atherosclerosis, can cause the toxin buildup, attract much toxins even in the blood to accumulate in that place. Remember, one of the cause of heart attack was blood being resisted to pass through, or the force of the heart used, the force which the heart is using to pump blood throughout the entire body parts or through the entire body organs. If it is being resisted, that can cause a heart attack. And this toxin buildup, if they inhibit blood to pass through swiftly, to pass through easily with no resistance, it will cause the heart attack. The reason of stroke. Remember, when we were talking about stroke in the previous meeting, we said that stroke can happen in either two ways. In the case of the blood clot there, a person with that kind of blood clot that you can see, he may suffer from stroke. And what type of stroke did we call it? We call it the hemorrhagic stroke. This is where there is clots inside our body. But in the case where a rupture has already been done, in the case now of ischemic stroke, this has to be something that is doing repair to the organ, where there isn't any conventional medication offered to do that. The conventional medication used to repair these organs will only be the dissolvent. And in the case of rupture, there's nothing to dissolve this damaged blood vessels. So we must repair these blood vessels. And that's why we say that our body, it's up to it now to regenerate and ensure the blood vessel is reinstated back. And if the body cannot do that in considering the factor of time to heal, is now where we stimulate healing faster through our medications. Give me the next slide, James. Now, here we're gonna discuss the effect on the nerves. And high sugar causes oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is the imbalance of where the free radicals of the oxygen, maybe through metabolism. But here in the case of high excess blood sugar, high glucose will require high amount of oxygen to generate energy from it. So this release of excess oxygen can bring out the imbalance and cause the oxidative stress. And now this excess oxygen is what now we term it as the free radicals. So it also disrupts small blood vessels that supply oxygen to nerves, starving them of nutrients. So the moment this oxidative stress is in my body, they start to eat out something called myelin. Myelin, as you can see from that image, a normal nerve cell, it has something which has covered the axon. Axon is something which is inside and ensures the transmission of messages, because it's the work of the nerve cell to ensure there's communication. Like, for example, when I want to walk, this must be a communication from the brain cells to the nerve cells to ensure that signaling this person wants to stand up and walk. But if the axon cannot transmit that message, when the myelin has been destroyed, where now this axon has been covered, and you can see the magnified image, the myelin of this abnormal nerve cell, it has already been eaten out. So if there was a message to be transmitted, like this person wants to move, so the muscle has to contract, but the axon which is to transmit that message has already been damaged. There will be no transmission, or if there will be a transmission of message, there will be it will be so much disrupted. And that's why you can see even a person who has some nerve dysfunction, he may try to walk, but it's like he or she is sluggish in his movement. It's like he's shaky because the transmission made by the nerve cell are also disrupted, and the ones which are getting to pass through, they are very little. So the communication to allow the nerve cell to communicate still has been disrupted. So here I'm trying to read here out the chat, because I believe there's we will be having a testimonial of someone who's outside the country, and due to the problem with the time zones, if she enters the Zoom, we shall give her a chance to give her a testimonial, because she has been 2 years free of the diabetes, been reinstated back completely, 2 years free from medication by just using the regenerative types of elements. And since she was to attend a medical checkup to a dentist, she pledged that we may give her a chance before the meeting ends. So give me the next slide. The reason where the high blood sugar also can bring now another problem and cause blindness is to the eye capillaries. Remember, eye capillaries are still blood vessels. If atherosclerosis occurs in the eyes, still there may be that rupture. And as you're gonna see from the next image, give me the next slide, James, you will see the ruptures of this particular abnormal eye have already been ruptured. So a healthy eye, the capillaries, which are the branches that you can see coming from they are coming from the covering optic nerve and the back of the cornea. You can see those branches of the healthy eye, they have not been disrupted in any way. They can transmit blood to ensure any nutrient required by the eye is reaching the healthy eye. But in this diabetic eye, the capillaries, which are now the blood vessels which are responsible to ensure that the required materials, oxygen is reaching the cornea, is reaching the entire eye, they have some clots, they have something which have ruptured them. And the image, which is clear to a person who has diabetic, you can see I've displayed there. And for a healthy eye, still you can see. So this glycation, which can cause the toxin buildup and even rupture our blood vessels, is what has been the root cause of channeling many kinds of diseases, which are being root caused by diabetes. Give me the next slide. And on to our fourth effect of diabetes in our body is the kidney failure. And now kidney failure, I would like us also to take very keen notice on this organ, because kidney, we know this is what filters our blood. But now the organelles that are being used to filter our blood are the glomerulus. And now these glomerulus, these are like the blood vessels, or are like the eye capillaries. But now here we have give them a special name. I'm having a disruption call here, maybe. Okay, I've ended it. So these glomerulus are now the specific blood vessels in our kidneys, which are used to sieve this blood. But now here, the glomerulus, whenever they are ruptured, maybe due to the toxin buildup, of which we have seen can come from the glycation of the proteins by the sugar crystals, the excess sugar crystals. Whenever the glomerulus rupture, now the work of the kidney is to ensure that waste materials are being excreted out, but the useful materials like proteins are kept inside. But if the glomerulus, which are to sieve this excess or waste materials to ensure it's only the excess materials, waste materials that are coming out, they have been ruptured. They leak even the wanted materials. And which is the wanted materials here? Like proteins. So the excess sugar, the excess water will also exit the kidney together with the proteins. And that's why many people who have the condition of diabetes, you can see it's like they have a foamy urine. Their urine is like, it's very foamy, and that's why they inquire to a doctor, why is my urine like so foamy? And the doctor tells that that is protein. It's because the glomerulus, which are in the kidney, remember I've told you the glomerulus, these are just the specific word of the blood vessels in the kidney. Nothing much about them. It's only that this is where now the blood should be sieved. But now these glomerulus have been ruptured. The same way the eye capillaries have been ruptured, the glomerulus have been ruptured. Remember, guys, and that's why I was telling about regenerative medication being a need. You can never address, like, give me the next slide, James, so that we can see where the glomerulus exist in our kidney. The glomerulus are inside our kidney. Whenever you go to a hospital and you are diagnosed with kidney failure, maybe it can be only an effect on the glomerulus, guys. It doesn't have to be an autoimmune attack to the kidney that has already ruptured the entire kidney. The glomerulus are those. Now you can see I've dissected a kidney. In that part which I have squared, I've removed the nephrons, and after the nephrons, now inside is where we find the glomerulus. How can we address this neuron problem if we do not? You can be diabetic, but you are going to treat kidney failure. But if you come to diagnosis, a practitioner tells you that if you address this diabetic condition, your kidneys will come back to normal. And because, guys, out of lack of knowledge, not understanding how this diabetic can be the cause of my kidney failure, opt us to have even a kidney transplant, which can be an issue with just a small thing like a glomerulus. Because the moment this glomerulus rupture, you can see even the urine. Give me the next slide. You see the damage caused by a rupture of a glomerulus. When the glomerulus rupture, is what allows even the protein to leak into our urine. So the good materials and the unwanted materials, they are coming off out your body. So the regulation even of your body supplying them with the required nutrients, it becomes something hard. Give me the next slide, James, because they have something to show about the glomerulus. So the glomerulus, they have already been ruptured. I've told you that any scientific word that I'll be using in this Zoom, you do not have to cover your mind on it, because I've explained everything about it. The glomerulus is just a special word used for the blood vessels inside kidneys that filter now our blood. So there is nothing much about it. So these glomerulus have already been ruptured. They cannot sieve the wanted materials from the unwanted materials. So if excess sugar is coming out, if excess water is coming out, the excess nutrients is not coming out, but the glomerulus have been ruptured, so even the wanted materials are coming out, the proteins are coming out. And that's why you can see having urine or a foamy urine, and the doctor confirms it that those are proteins. That is what kidney damage can bring us to. Give me the next slide, because I have like 5 minutes to be done with this presentation. Brain damage. And now this brain damage, people consider it as type 3 diabetes. Ask me why. They consider it as type 3 diabetes, and I will take you again back. Type 1 diabetes, pancreatic cells have already been damaged. Type 2 diabetes, the pancreas is very okay, but the insulin, when the moment it has been produced, it is hacked or it's hijacked through glycation by this excess sugar. So they restructure the form of this insulin. So this insulin was to be a special key to my cells, but now they have something on them that will cause the cell resistance, which we call it the insulin resistance. So this insulin is being resisted by our cell. That is the type 2 diabetes. Type 3 diabetes now is where diabetes, because now your cells lack glucose. Remember, from type 2 diabetes, glucose is not entering your cell. But remember, glucose is a special material needed by the mitochondria to generate energy for your body. So if you starve glucose, your cells starve from having glucose. What's the resultant effect? Your cells start to die. And now this is where, if the brain cells, to be specific, are the ones suffering from low glucose, are the ones suffering from this glucose, which is just in the bloodstream, but it's not entering my brain cells, you suffer from what we can call it memory loss, confusion and poor thinking, or increased risk of strokes. So you can see stroke, it can occur either way, by blockage of the capillaries or the blood vessels, or even these cells still lacking, because the moment a cell is no longer active, that is something which is already unwanted. Give me the next slide. So the 6 damage which high blood sugar can cause to us is liver cirrhosis. And I think we shall have this, and I think the last one. So if you have any question on the effects that I've discussed, you may be dropping them on the chat, because we shall be having a question and answer before we see how the Iteracare will address these kinds of conditions. So the liver cirrhosis, remember now, insulin resistant forces the liver to store excess sugar as fat. Now this is a person, unwanted materials, they should be reduced, but the insulin is no longer functionable by the cells. So there is already excess sugar in the case of type 2 diabetes in our bloodstream. So this excess sugar, the liver has already used enough of the sugar that it will require, and now this excess, it stores it as fat. And that's why people with specifically type 2 diabetes, they may suffer from liver cirrhosis without any drink of alcohol, because they have something called non-alcoholic fatty liver, which is from the excess sugar, because the excess glucose is not entering the cells. So over time, this excess fat triggers liver inflammation, hepatitis, which leads to liver scarring. Now this is a short tumor or a very small growth, the fibrosis, and you can know about fibrosis occurring in other parts of our organ. And now if it develops further, or if it's prolonged without being addressed, now it causes the cirrhosis, which is the permanent liver damage. And you may be diagnosed to have a fatty liver, or having fat liver content in you, and you have been very clean on your diet, you have been very clean, you have not been drinking alcohol, but now due to this excess sugar, because the liver now is storing this excess sugar as fat, it makes the fat.
Rooney, sound like you're so far. We can hardly hear you. Rooney, you're so far from the mic, we can hardly hear you.
I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry. Don't you mean
now? It's okay.
For how long have I been inaudible?
For quite a minute.
So I think
maybe you can just repeat the current slide.
Yeah.
Maybe you can just repeat the current slide here from the beginning.
Okay, for liver cirrhosis, guys, I was saying this. Remember, this excess sugar has already been used by the liver, but it's already a lot. So the body, which is now, I'm addressing the organ, the liver, tries to store the excess sugar as fat. And over time now, this fatty content from the excess sugar being stored excessively by the liver damages the liver itself. So you may go to the hospital, you may be diagnosed after being very cognizant with your diet, very appropriate, biological, and required by a doctor diet. You have never been abusing alcohol, but you may be diagnosed with liver fat, because the excess sugar already in you from type 2 diabetes specifically has been stored for a long period of time in the liver, making the liver to damage itself throughout this time. And it starts as a fibrosis, which is the small clot. And if it's prolonged to a long period of time, it develops now to the cirrhosis. And that's why I was saying that some damages or some diseases come from our metabolism itself. So hope I'm clear on the liver cirrhosis part. The previous part, if I was inaudible, I can remember I was talking about the brain damage. And brain damage, you have said this is where the brain cells are starved of glucose. Type 2 diabetes, the glucose is just afloat in the bloodstream. It's not making way into our cells. Okay, so if it's not making into our cells, glucose is an important material required to generate energy for our body. So it not entering our cells makes our brain cells and other cells, but here specifically because we are addressing brain damage, it damages the brain cells and it can cause memory loss, dementia, and that's why people call it type 3 diabetes, because it's diabetes caused by the effect of insulin not entering us. Type 2 diabetes is the diabetes where the glucose is just afloat, but there is no insulin reaction by the cells. But in type 3, the cells are already reacting to because of the lack of that glucose entering. And that's why it's called the type 3, which is the brain damage, type 3 diabetes. Give me the 7th slide, James. I think I will just use 2 minutes to finish up on these 2 slides. I think that actually this one is the last one, which is cancer. And I will give you guys a very important fact on cancerous cells. Cancerous cells, hope anytime I'm inaudible, guys, you can tell me because I've had an issue or even people telling me of this speaker. Cancerous cells, they take glucose 10 to 20 times more than normal cells. And we have studied cancer throughout this regenerative topic all through, because actually the main idea that we try to reinstate back people of that it cannot be treated, it's cancer, right? But now you already have excess sugar in you. And these cancerous cells which are inactive, they feed glucose 10 to 20 times much more faster than the normal cells. So it's like having excess sugar in you, you have already provided a room, which people call it now the acidic environment, for these cancerous cells to develop even much further. That's the first take. The second take, remember, there's this insulin being produced. This insulin, we have said that it's a protein because it's the protein which will fold to form the insulin. Proteins also fold to form the collagen. Proteins fold to form the elastin, but here they are forming the insulin when we are addressing now the pancreas. They form this insulin, and this insulin is not being used. So this insulin also clamp themselves to any form of unstable materials in your body. And this also stimulates the growth of cancer cells, which are now feeding off because you have already provided an acidic environment by the hyperglycemia in you, high glucose content in your bloodstream. So if these cancerous cells, they have something to pair with, and their environment, they have excess sugar to feed 10 to 20 times more faster than normal cells, cancer starts to develop more faster. So you go to a practitioner, for example, a regenerative practitioner, she tells you or he tells you, for us to deal with this pancreatic cancer, it's very simple. Let's just address your diabetic condition and you will see your body will self-heal to this pancreatic cancer throughout the process. You have been told that maybe by the practitioners who are here in this Zoom meeting of the regenerative way of medication, and I hope you have understand how.
Rooney, kindly, can I cut you short because Jason will be seeing his doctor in a few. He just want to share his testimony, then we can continue. Kindly give him room to share his testimony.
Yeah, actually, we were already in the last. So, Jason, this is your chance. You can share your great testimony because I understand you have been able to stay free from diabetic 12 months plus. 12 months plus. So, Jason, you are welcome.
Can you hear me?
Is Jason? Yeah.
We can hear you, Jason.
Oh, okay. So my name is Jason Kamau. I had been diagnosed with diabetic in 2011. And since then, I have been taking a lot of medication. I was started with metformin, I was taking like 500 milligrams in the morning. And then later on, I was added some more. I had to take 500 in the morning, 500 at night when I'm sleeping. And then I went back to every morning to be taking 1,000, and then 1,000 in the morning, 1,000 in the evening, which was too bad for me because I didn't like the way I was taking those medications. They were making me feel like I'm heading to the end. So I had all those, and then I also with the blood pressure was going high up and down. Then I was taking that losartan. I had been taking a lot of medication, and they are taking me worse and worse. And then I was uh, I was then told by my auntie who lives in the Gio there in Deya about Cynthia. So I went over there and I talked to her. I told her what's going on, and then she started treating me, give me all those medication. I started with the Takara, Alfalfa, and they did very well because since then, when I started having it, when I came back from Kenya, my doctor was wondering what's going on because my glucose was going high up and high up. But when I came back, they tested all my blood, and then they saw that it was all gone. So they were wondering what's going on. So since then, I've been eating well. I don't take a lot of carbohydrates, just a portion. And had been going on with those Takara, alfalfa. I'm still taking them, but I'm still doing well because even the doctor told me to stop those medication, and now I don't take those metformin anymore. So I know one can be healed with the guidance of the doctor. She's a good doctor, Cynthia. She's been caring about me. So, and then I'm following what she told me to do. I've been walking around and doing exercise, and it's helping. And because I'm going back to the doctor now, my time is over. Maybe that's all I have for now.
Thank you so much, Jason. We'll allow you to go back to see the dentist. Then next time we'll allow you to give us more of your. If I may ask, for how long are you off the conventional medicine?
It's almost a year now.
All right. Thank you so much, Jason. Thank you for your testimony. Stay blessed.
Welcome. Okay, thank you. Bye.
I would like to believe, thank you very much for that testimony, Jason. And I would like to confirm what type of diabetes was he suffering from?
Type 2 diabetes.
Yeah, because I've had some mention of the Takaras. So this was something that it had to be reversed because the pancreas was with no problem. So it's just the bloodstream which had to be reversed to the normal regulatory blood sugar. Yeah, I believe there may be other testimonies. Kindly, if there are, Dr. Cynthia, I would like to give this chance to you.
Yes, I believe we have a recent case of Catherine. Catherine is here in Kenya, and she has been off medication for around, I don't know whether it's a month now or 3 weeks now. Catherine, kindly, you are now kindly welcome and share your testimony.
Welcome,
Good
Catherine.
evening. You can hear me?
Good evening. Good
Yeah.
evening.
Yes, my name is Catherine. I'm 45 years. I was diagnosed with diabetes come January.
Nimalize kosi
Yes.
ninayoifanya, nipate kazi, nijenge huko nyumbani kwetu na kusaidia familia yangu.
Kindly, Catherine, I think you are inaudible, Catherine.
A KMTC student's determination to raise
No, I'm not the one who
college
is
fees.
talking. I'm
I think
saying you can hear me?
yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I went to the hospital January and I was taken a random blood test among the other tests that I was being done. So it was 14.5. And then there was glucose in the urine. So they decided also to do a HbA1c. That shows how the glucose level is for the last 3 months. It was still high. It was 11.4. And the normal should be 4.5 to 6.5. So being 11.4, it was quite high. And I was started on medication. I was taking a combination of 550, 1000 mg Treviamet, and I started using it from 9th. But when I shared with my sister what I've been told in the hospital, she happened to go Dr. Cynthia, recommended that I go there and have I get diagnosed. So I went to Dr. Cynthia on 11th January, and I was started on the international products. That is the
I think there are noises coming from the host. You can kindly mute the speaker. You can continue, Catherine.
Okay,
There are
so
some noises coming.
from 11th January, I was on the medication I was given in the hospital, and plus the Prive International products. When I went for review on 13th Feb, the sugars had already gone down at 5.4. And then on 23rd Feb, I stopped. We discussed with the Dr. Cynthia, so I stopped the medication on 23rd. So I'm almost for a month on 23rd. That's when I will reach a month without taking the medication, only the Prive International products. And I'm feeling good because even today I've taken the measurement for the sugars. It's now ranging from 5 to 5.4. And all I can say is it is working. The regenerative way of treating the diabetes has really worked. Now that I have not been using the medication for a month, I say thank you to Dr. Cynthia and the team at large. And if I'm asked, I would recommend to anybody who is having any problem, our bodies can really work.
Yeah.
The regenerative level.
Yeah, and that's the way the future medicine, the medicine of frequency. And this frequency, we are stimulating our health back to normal. I believe that I think
Thank you, Catherine.
I think Mr. Jason have already mentioned about the metformin, the drugs, and
Rooney.
I think in the previous meeting.
Rooney.
Yeah.
Rooney, could I please? I would like to ask, probably on behalf of others. This question is to Dr. Cynthia. Dr. Cynthia, do you mind mentioning what Prive International products that Catherine was referring to, or rather that she used in her journey of treatments? Kindly.
Okay, Catherine has used the chlorophyll, that is the alpha, that is what she bought on day one, because I told her at this journey she has to have her own device at home because she was supposed as in to do the therapy thrice daily, which she did the first day. And so she has been on the eye care, Takara patches, and for now 1.5 months, and also the chlorophyll. And lately I added fluorescent because she had stomach issues, whereby today she wrote me a text and told me that also the stomach issues are gone, and I'm happy for her. So the chlorophyll plus the Takara patches, and now the diet and the eye therapy.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I would like even to give room maybe to other questions, and I will first start by responding by the question which had been dropped by the chat, I think by Innocent, where I think he was asking, is collagen part of the problem? And this where we was addressing glycation. Collagen is not part of the problem because this protein was to form collagen, which collagen is a very useful protein to the skin. But now this sugar, excess sugar attacking that protein which was to form collagen is what now formed a skin with wrinkles. Because if the collagen was to be free from those sugar crystals, it will form a pure collagen, and that collagen will attach to the skin and form an organ which is very attractive. But since it has been attracted by those excess sugar crystals, it forms something else. In the same case that I've explained in another case of type 2 diabetes, the insulin is the protein which is being attacked here. A protein has failed to form the insulin, but the sugar crystals attack the insulin to deform it. So that key, when it has been deformed, the cells does not recognize it, and that's why there's the insulin resistance. Hope I've addressed Innocent's question. And if there's any other question, you may feel free to unmute your speaker and address it, or rather drop in the chat. Yeah, so before anyone decides to think of a question, or maybe I will try to emphasize on what Mr. Jason had said about metformin. And you can see you don't have, I told you even because this is a document from a previous meeting, and you are discussing the types of diabetes. This metformin, you can see it was the first drug, and its function was to reduce liver glucose production and improve insulin sensitivity. And that's why I was telling you that the doctors are using the right way to try to medicate the condition, but it's up to your body to heal first, to allow or to put you in a state where you won't be dependent on those kinds of medication. But age is a factor which is already against us. We are aging, our cells are telomering, so our healing speed, it's no longer the same. And that's why we must work in hand, the alternative way and the conventional way. If the doctor is trying to hack this superficial way of inhibiting the liver to produce more glucose, now it has to reach to a time when the blood sugar should be regulated naturally. So the pancreas has to come back to normal very fast to make sure that I won't be dependent on these metamorphin kinds of drugs. But since our body cannot do that naturally, is where now the need of me managing it by stimulating my self-healing back to the way it was when I was young becomes crucial. So hope these ideas of regenerative medication and the way we need it, because if you are not sick, you can use the regenerative medication just to maintain yourself. Just the way a car, you must maintain it by putting new fuel, new parts. There's a time comes that even the engine of that car needs to be replaced. So imagine if you want to exhaust your heart throughout your lifetime, and you have to maybe or you aspire to live 1,000 years. So you have to have something that is new each and every time. So the maintenance comes to that part. If you get sick, the superficial act that should be used temporarily, not throughout your lifetime. Because if it's used throughout your lifetime, it still causes the damage of the toxin buildup. So if there's any other question, I give room to you. If there isn't, I would like to understand that this topic of diabetes, everyone is content with it. We are done with it. And I believe that in the next topic, we shall learn something new and understand how the regenerative way of treatment can address it for the betterment of our health. Regenerative medication is the only solution to the future kinds of diseases that are coming even right now. So let's take care of ourselves, and I wish you a very blessed night.
As we adjourn the meeting, I would like to add something, and I would like to, as in, urge each and every one of us, why wait until we are diabetic? It's so easy. Using the device is very easy. Rather than doing the exercises that we normally do, the physical exercises and the stuff, when you use this device, the iTeracare device, you enhance circulation. So I would urge each and everyone to just get his or her own device. And again, it's good to do detoxification like twice a year. So when you do this, you keep on doing some analysis just to check on yourself. I believe prevention is better than cure. Thank you so much.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining the Zoom meeting. I believe that tomorrow and the future, these devices will be speaking for themselves, and we won't have to advocate for them much, because the future is bright. Regenerative medication is the future, and we shall address each and every illness cumulatively. You are supposed to master it by acting. So let's blow, let's step on the iTeracare BioLite, and let's drink the super oxygenated water. And when we get sick, let's have a question. And if we don't, we believe that we have mastered the products and we have mastered our health. So thank you very much. And the meeting is adjourned.